Look, every one of us has a degree of capitalism and at what I call like platitudes. I want to be in control of my destiny. I want to love what I do. Like that's all cute. But at the end of the day, I want to retire uncompromised. I
Mhm.
want to secure my spouse's future. I want to intervene meaningfully in the life of my child or grandchildren. I want to care for an elderly parent. That's why I invest. That's why I make money. Like, what's your why? Right? Everyone has a different reason for what they're doing.
Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Richer Geek Podcast. Today we have Cliff Nonnenmacher. He began his career as an investment banker at Morgan Stanley. After leaving his Wall Street career, he acquired a master franchise for New York and Connecticut. We'll explain what master franchising means. He's owned and operated various franchise businesses, Cartridge World, which I love, Personal Training Institute, Puro Clean, Made Right, as well as non-franchise companies. He's also developed well-known domestic international brands like Four Seasons Sunrooms and others. How you doing, Cliff?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me on the show.
Absolutely. So, what I'd like to do is kind of get into a little more of the background and what made you switch from investment banking to also, hey, let's go buy a franchise.
That's right. Yeah, yeah. Well, I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. As a young age, I was an entrepreneur. But just I was born into it, really. I knew with blinding clarity, I want to be an entrepreneur as young as you could go back in your thoughts of what you want to do with yourself. So I've always been doing things entrepreneurially, buying and selling and trying to make a profit. I was making money at a young age and I started day trading. I had a satellite system. I was so early in day trading, my handle was blue chip, not blue chip 1095. I was blue chip.
Blue
That's how
chip.
early I was
Gee.
in the early days of day trading. Built a decent portfolio and I said, hey, I actually really like this. I took my portfolio to Wall Street. I was offered a job with all member firms, whether it be Merrill Lynch and Raymond James and so on. And I took a job with Smith Barney, which is today Morgan Stanley.
Yeah.
I manage around 250 million of just high net worth individual assets, some institutional money. And I was with a team called Comprehensive Wealth Management. And I had a
Hmm.
bad boss moment. And that bad boss moment, uh, yeah, it was a simple one too. We had one networked printer in the office with 50 brokers, and I had to travel through the whole office to go to one networked printer to get my stuff. And it was never there. It was always taken and sorted. And I asked my boss, I said, listen, we're $1 million producers in the back. Can we get our own printer in that section of the office? Say, hey, man, you want a printer, you buy it yourself. So I did. Bought a printer and realized that that cartridge was $250. So I bought a soldering iron and I attached a small copper pipe fitting to the end and I melted a perfect circle in the toner hopper and I filled it up with $3 of toner and I saved 250 bucks. So I was like, holy crap, is this a thing? So I went to Barnes and Noble and I found a company. I'm dating myself. I went to Barnes and Noble. This is
Yeah.
now, yeah. Uh, this is what 2000, 2001 to 2003 in that range. And I went to Barnes and Noble and found a company in Australia that had reverse engineered printer consumables. And I bought the rights to it for the entire state of New York and Connecticut. And I scaled 36 units. And that was my introduction to franchising. And you made a comment about, we'll explain what master is.
Hmm.
There's a hierarchy of franchising, right? You could be a single unit owner. I own one unit. You could
Yep.
be a multi-unit owner. You own multiple units, say 3 to 5. You could become an area developer, which means you're now developing an entire area. Let's call it a county. Maybe it's a city, like in Arizona.
Hmm.
You could become a master, which means you not only have the right to develop the brand in your territory, you also have the right to sub franchise and sell the opportunity to other people and take a piece of the royalty. And that's what I did. I developed my own stores and then I sold locations to other people and I kept half the royalty payment and half of the initial franchise fee.
Yeah. Well, there you go. It just, blows my mind sometimes how founders get involved in things. You wanted to save 200, you couldn't spend the money on ink, and look what it turned into.
It's And it's sometimes that's not about like it's like Mike, you have the money. I understand
Yeah.
that. I don't I don't see the value of a $250 printer cartridge. I'm sorry. I don't see
Yeah.
the value in it. Just so you know, I have extrapolated because I'm just a data guy and like the show is the Richer Geek, right? So just to geek out for a minute, I
Mhm.
have extrapolated what are you really paying when you buy a black or a color inkjet cartridge? And the answer is between $2,000 and $5,000 a gallon. If you think about it,
Yeah.
next time you get your inkjet cartridge, I want you to look at the number of milliliters in it. If you
Right.
have an 8, 10, 15 milliliter cartridge and you extrapolate that by a gallon, it is absurd. It's more than Chanel number 5. It's more than oil. It's more than everything. So when you think about the profitability of giving you the printer for free and then just hosing you for the remainder of your life cycle in the printer consumables, and that's actually how I got in the business. It wasn't just a bad boss moment. It's a bunch of other stories
Yeah.
that led me to this with high net worth clients investing in HP and Lexmark and Canon. And it's like Cliff, it's razor blade theory, razor blades. They give you the printer and they get you on the consumables, and that is exactly the model.
Yeah. That's why they give you the razor part for free. It's all
That's
about the
exactly
cartridge.
it's all about it. Exactly. Same thing with printing.
So,
So
and so it was probably a natural move to go into like cartridge world.
yeah,
And
for me, it was
yeah.
natural, right, to just say, okay, this was an issue for me. I like businesses that solve problems. Like people
Mhm.
pay for two things: good feelings, solutions to problems. I've
Mhm.
always been in those two areas. I used to own parasail boats, jet skis, catamarans. I had operations on Marco Island, Florida, the New Jersey shore, Long Beach Island. I was always in the fun business. I delivered food back in the 90s, which was basically an Uber concept. I lived on an island 3 miles by 6 miles. So it was like I'm on the 24th floor of a condominium overlooking the Gulf of Mexico. I don't want to go to McDonald's or Subway. I delivered food for 16 franchises and brought it straight to your door. So
Wow.
like all these different little businesses were always about those two areas. People pay for, as I said, for two things, solutions to problems and good feelings. So Cartridge World was clearly that. And then that evolved into other businesses. I got involved in gyms. I got involved in high-end residential cleaning. I got involved in water, fire, mold, and biohazard. So there's another people pay for solutions to
Mhm.
problems. Your house is flooded. My team would come in and extract the water. It was a multi-million-dollar operation. We operated in Annapolis, Maryland.
Mhm.
And and I didn't really truly start creating wealth. I was making a living and I was, doing well as an independent business owner, but I didn't really start becoming wealthy until I got involved in franchising, proven blueprint, proof of concept. All you have to do is execute flawlessly. And that's exactly where I started latching on to franchising, saying franchising gives me an opportunity to collapse time and just focus on the execution, not all the day-to-day nuances of running a business, because they've already done the marketing. They've already done the branding. We already have a federally registered trademark. We already have all of that. We already have the R&D. We already have a menu, or we already have the services offered. We already have the pricing methodology, the margin.
Yeah.
Everything is already now just execute. And that's what I did. And that's why I've owned now over 12 brands. And I love the buying, the building, and I love the selling part
Mhm.
of building the business. I just love cashing in and doing it again.
So, let's talk about that a little bit. So people that are listening say, I always wanted to do this, I want to do that, but I'm not paying 12%. I'm not paying those commissions. And I go, it depends on the franchise because if it's a well-known brand, like you're saying,
Hmm.
are people going all of a sudden start looking for like this type of sign or Mike's Cupcakes? They're going to
That's
look for
right.
like these national brands. Explain to the concept of why franchises are successful and where it's like a lot harder if you just go about it as an independent.
That's great. Great question. Well, one, it's been proven that you will get a higher multiple
Yeah.
as a franchise. Biz Buy Sell has aggregated data for
Mhm.
decades now and have proven that if you were to even sell your business, your life's work, you will get a premium, higher multiple on EBITDA just because you're a franchise and you're part of something bigger than one. So that in itself, because I believe you build a plan with the end in mind, which is the exit strategy. And that's what I just said. I love the buy, build, and the sell. I like the cashing in part because a lot of people don't want to build a business, but they have no problem paying a premium for your cash flow and then acquiring a resale. So I advise people every day on buying franchises specifically. That's my core competency, is helping people like tech geeks, which I deal with daily, right? And transitioning out of corporate America into a franchise. I
Yeah.
ask clients this question all the time. Why is the royalty 6%? And they say, I don't know. The answer is simple, because the franchisor does 6% of the work. Why is their royalty 12%? I don't know. The franchisor is only going to do 12% of the work, right? So price is only an issue in the absence of value. If you're going to charge me 10%, you better be providing 10% value. Am I
Mm-hmm.
getting deeper discounts on my cost of goods? Yes, we've negotiated a
Mm-hmm.
national deal with Cisco, US Foods, HP, right? Maybe even if it's a fleet management brand. Great, check that box. Where is the scale of economy? Where is my purchasing power? Where am I getting that back? Oh, pay per click, SEO, SEM, all that's done. We do it for you. Do you answer my phone? Yep, we answer your phone. We give estimates over the phone. We schedule appointments. Now you're adding value. I will never allow a royalty to get in the way of doing a good deal. Never.
Sure.
Because as I said, I think price is only an issue in the absence of value.
That's absolutely, and I find that in the hotel world, where you can have too much of a boutique franchise brand, and it's not the value, that's not the thing. Or you can go with a Marriott or Hilton that has 100 million plus rewards members. I'm paying that little royalty fee, and I have a potential of 100 million customers. You know,
Extrapolate that. Yeah, to your
extrapolate that,
benefit.
and
Bingo.
it's my benefit. And it's the same thing, like you're saying, it's like they may not have rewards cards. Some of them do, these franchises that you're dealing with. But ladies and gentlemen, if you think about it that much, how many people will Google that name, whether whatever service or whatever thing it is, you immediately go, hey, I wonder if there's blah, blah, blah near me. Because they see the
Totally.
commercials, they see the marketing. It's like the reason why we call every soda a Coke, or something
Hmm.
like that. I mean, it's beaten in our heads.
That's right.
So
That's right.
talk to us a little bit about your website before we get into some other
Sure.
questions. And your website is
It's the name of the company, Franocity.com. Franocity.com.
Franocity.com, and people click on it.
Yep.
What's there in the educational materials? How do they
Yep.
go around the website to learn more?
It's all value add. Everything we do is to add value to, not only in this example, your audience, but our own audience. There's no ask. It's all value, value, value. If someone wants to engage, great. But it's a value prop. So if they visit the site, it's going to be all about, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to keep your career and get a deal on the side? Are you trying to fully immerse yourself in a new business and exit corporate America? Are you laid off? You're displaced. You need to land on your feet. Are you within that protected class, which is a lot of our clients? Are you 50 and over, right? I'm a Gen X. I don't want to interview right now. They don't want me. They
That's
don't.
right.
They want the younger me. They want the best. Corporate America wants the best years of our lives, and it's 20s, 30s, and 40s. Soon as we hit 50, they're like, you're done. You have a little FU money. You're no longer towing the line for corporate America, right? You're no longer complying. You're starting to push back your younger manager, who is, by the way, 1/3 qualified to manage you. I mean, this shit goes on like every day, right?
Yeah.
So our clients, like your listeners, are tired of the corporate grind. Think about this, is the one thing that always chaps my ass. You're a 50-year-old man and you want to go on vacation and you have to ask like a 20-year-old in the department for time off. That in itself, I could never do it. I'm sorry. I
Hmm.
could never ask someone after 20, 30 years of being in corporate America, I got to ask for time off. I'm out.
And you only
Little
get one
things
life,
like that. That's
maybe
right.
two.
That's right.
But you
And
have
it's
to be
like, well,
online from 9 to 5 while you're on vacation. You have to keep your laptop with you. You're right. I couldn't do it. And now, you have this return to work mandate, that a
that's
lot of
right.
people return to the office, I should say. And people are like going, God, is there a franchise? Anything? I have so many friends that are in the tech world that are like, my God, it's like I got to travel now 2 hours to an office, 2 hours back from an office. I have to go to an office, and I'm a salesperson
That's right.
where I don't even need to be in an office. I
That's
should
right.
be out doing things. But they're like,
Yep.
if you don't like, and a lot of people are they're going to say, you know what? I wonder if there's a franchise. I wonder if there's anything. So talk to me about the different types of franchises. What's good? What's bad? What do they look
Hmm.
for? What's trending in the
Yeah.
franchise world? Because it's someone wants to open up, hey, and what's the difference between, I'm throwing a lot of questions at you,
They're fine.
being I want to get into something I'm passionate about or getting into a franchise that makes money. Curious about growing your wealth, the best opportunities aren't always the most obvious. That's why we've partnered with Bob Bernatas of Franchise with Bob. He specializes in helping investors like you leverage franchising, an overlooked but highly profitable way to create semi-passive income. And for a limited time, Bob is giving our listeners access to his course on franchising investing for free. Inside, you'll learn how to evaluate franchises, minimize risk, and maximize returns. This course is normally priced at $499. Don't let this pass you by. Go to edu.franchisewithbob.com/RG and get your free course today.
Yeah. There's a lot there to unpack. Okay.
I know.
So let's start there. That's because that's like low hanging fruit. Look, every one of us has a degree of capitalism and at what I call like platitudes. I want to be in control of my destiny. I want to love what I do. Like that's all cute. But at the end of the day, I want to retire uncompromised. I
Mhm.
want to secure my spouse's future. I want to intervene meaningfully in the life of my child or grandchildren. I want to care for an elderly parent. That's why I invest. That's why I make money. Like, what's your why? Right? Everyone has a different reason for what they're doing. The most difficult client to deal with is the one that says, I have spent 20 years doing something I really never loved, and I want to love what I do. I would rather have to find them a new spouse than to deal with emotions when it comes to
Yeah.
investing. And I seriously, I'd rather
Yeah.
try and find them a new spouse than to find this love affair with their next career. I really do better with the capitalist that says,
Mhm.
hey, man, I've been making a quarter million a year. I'm acclimated to a certain lifestyle. I want to
Mhm.
get out of this rat race. I need to meet and exceed my earnings history. What do you have out there that I could scale quickly and
Yep.
get back to where I was? That guy, gal, is that investor is way easier to work with
Mhm.
because now it's empirical, it's numbers, it's proof of concept, it's what we call item 19 earnings claims. It's P&L reviews. Totally different discussion.
Mhm.
So that I think that addresses that one question
Yes.
about I want to love what I do, what's out there. Now, what's trending is interesting
Mhm.
because there was a time where I would get phone calls daily. I want to buy a gym. I don't even get those calls anymore.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
what I'm seeing is a shift away from, let's say, the traditional gym and into more like biohacking. And thanks to guys like you in the podcasting world, like Dave Osprey and Huberman, Andrew Huberman,
Mhm.
it's all about biohacking now. So people are realizing, wait a minute, I'm going to the gym. There's tens of thousands of gyms in America, and we're the fattest we've ever been. We're the most unhealthiest we've ever been. And for the first time in history, the current generation will not outlive the prior generation. That's never happened. That's frightening. That's
Mhm.
actually downright frightening. So gyms have proven they're not the solution to the problem. So you've seen a lot of people shifting over to I wake up in the morning, I trigger my circadian rhythm, right? I'm drinking this, I got
Yeah.
rid of, alcohol. So you're starting to see I'm doing peptides, I'm doing you're starting to hear different words. You're hearing words like biohacking. You and I are Gen Xers. When did you ever hear that word before? Biohacking, right?
Yeah.
I'm getting my blood work done. I'm getting my T levels checked. There's no modern medicine checking T levels. They only write prescriptions. They're not going to help you with your testosterone level. They're going to give you an antidepressant. They're going to give you Cialis. They're going to give you
Yeah.
Viagra. They will not address your hormone deficiencies. They won't even test it. There's
Mm.
not a person on the web on this call that's listening that has ever gone to modern medicine to check for hormone levels. It will never happen because they only write prescription drugs. They don't solve problems, they treat symptoms, right? So, back to your question, I'm starting to see more interest in biohacking, testosterone therapy,
Mhm.
ED therapy, right? I'm starting to see that. I'm seeing anything involving the use of tools as a win, an absolute win. I truly believe what I'm about to tell you. I think that people who can use tools, use their hands, are going
Mhm.
to be owning this world going
Mhm.
forward because we're entering a world of AI, and the unintended consequence of AI is the absolute annihilation of technology employees and white collar people. This is the first
Yep.
time, if you look at every revolution, industrial, it's always attacked blue collar people. Always. It's always a war on the middle class and the little guy. AI is the first technology,
Mm.
the first
Mm.
revolution that will set its sights squarely on the most educated people in our society. CPAs, you're in deep shit.
Oh, yeah.
Attorneys that don't do trial law, you're in deep shit. Like, there's a lot of people that are in trouble. If you answer the phone for a living, you're out of business. You just don't know it yet. If you're operating in the Philippines and India and you're doing call center work, you're dead, out of business. You just don't know it yet.
Hmm.
These are the lowest hanging fruit jobs that are absolutely dead. Anything requiring automation, anything requiring, a queue, done.
Yeah.
AI AI will kill them. So I am focusing on proof of concept, tried and true, local transactions, feet on the street, must be done locally,
Hmm.
AI proof and Amazon proof businesses. Well, guess where it starts? Tools, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, flooring, drywall, anything involving the structure. Look at your house. Anything
Yep.
involving the structure of your home right now, I'm long. I'm all in bullish. I call it the feminization of men in America as the category.
Hmm.
We have feminized them. They can't use tools. They have low T. They have low sperm. This is the first time in history.
Yep.
Fact, first time in history, you had two sides of the aisle, presidential candidates talking about IVF. Name one time in your 50 plus year history where a presidential candidate, both sides of the aisle,
Both
talked about
sides.
IVF. That's how big of a problem feminization of men in America is. Okay, they call it masculine, toxic masculinity. It's all
Yeah. Yeah.
horseshit, right? No, men need to be men and we need to be tough and we need to build things and we need to be able to use our hands. We need to be able to fix bridges and build buildings and do what we need to do, right? So I love that category. I'm
Yeah.
long, I'm bullish. Next category, we have humanized pets and animals in this country. We're
Oh,
not
yeah.
repopulating, so we buy more dogs. I don't
Yep.
care if you, Mike, I don't care if you're grooming them, training them, boarding them, you'll make money in the humanization of pets and animals. Third category is the aging of America. This country
Yeah.
is graying. We're not repopulating. The average age of America continues to climb. It's way higher than it was in 1970s and 80s. So we're absolutely aging. These are not opinion statements. These are empirical statements. It's fact. And we talked about that before the call. Like, some people are offended by facts. These are facts. You can't argue these things.
Yeah.
So my last fourth category is anything involving beauty, vanity, the desire to be
Mm.
look younger or feel sexy or just feel confident.
Yeah.
And that brings you back to testosterone therapy, even eyelash lounges, blow dry bars,
Hmm.
Botox injections, because people want to feel better about themselves. It could be an IV drip bar, something to that
Yeah.
effect. So those are the categories I tend to focus on with clients. And depending on the client, their background, skill sets, income needs, that's what will determine how we're going to kind of introduce the client to select brands in those real
Hmm.
categories. I don't like food. I do not like food right now. I think this hyperinflationary environment that we're in has destroyed food's profitability, like annihilated it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
select states in America have jacked up minimum wage. You can't make a profit anyway
Hmm.
in food.
Yeah.
California passed the bill in April. $20 minimum wage for fast food workers. 20. You can't make a living out there doing food.
No, not when eggs are up 100%, not when bacon's up 200%. It's the hotels that I had that offered the free breakfast, and I'm like, oh my God, it's like I can't afford to give free breakfast anymore, and then pay someone $20 an hour to stand there and replenish the eggs. It's horrible.
100% true. Yep.
Yeah, it's crazy, but I love those because that's I mean I'm seeing these med spa type of things popping up, and just they're always busy. I get my vitamin D shots, I get my testosterone shots, I get the whatever they do in there, peptides and all that sort of stuff.
That's
It's
right.
crazy. So along with your company, Franocity, it's why is it important that someone have a franchise consultant to purchase? Why
Hmm.
not just go to BizSell
Right.
and just buy something? Why do I need a consultant?
I think, we talk about this 1% in this country. It's like, yeah, they're one percenters and everyone else is 99%. It's like, why aren't people wealthy?
Mhm.
Ralph Waldo Emerson had the best quote. If you think becoming a millionaire in America is difficult, you haven't tried.
Mhm.
Right. And it's very true. It is a very
Yep.
true statement. Most people who complain about not being wealthy really haven't done anything to create wealth because they lack discipline, they lack the structure. All we bring to the table as consultants is all decades of business experience, right? And we
Yeah.
give them a strict adherence to due diligence. It's like I spoke to a guy the other day. We talk about what we're going to do, and then I get on the phone. He's like, "Yeah, man, I want to talk about this Korean barbecue," and I'm like, this is what happens. Why did you deviate? We're looking at non-brick and mortar brands under 150 grand, and you immediately go to a $500,000 Korean barbecue concept. This is why people end up getting in trouble. So when
Mhm.
they come to us, we're disciplined. We're good fiduciaries. We're good stewards of your money. We're going to keep you out of trouble. You're only going to be looking at brands that align with your investment objectives. You
Yeah.
want it, you want more dance recital time because you want to go to more soccer games. You want to be a better
Mhm.
parent, right? You want to more, don't buy a restaurant. You need to
Mhm.
replace income that you've lost. You want to retire, as I said, on time. Or I want to create a legacy for my children and grandchildren. How are you going to do that? I want to build a business and I want to be able to give it to my kids. All right, let's do things that have a long runway. Again, AI proof, Amazon proof, local, tried and true, proof of concept, brands that have proven to weather a recession. These are the things we talk about with clients. And I'll give you something that we do that's absolutely refreshing. We tell the
Okay.
truth. We tell the truth and we tell people what goes on with each brand, each industry. I mean, think about what I just did on the call. What someone on this show right now could have been like, I want to buy a gym. I'm going to call that guy. I don't like the gym business. I want to buy a restaurant. I listened to your show, Mike. I want to call this guy, buy a restaurant. I'm going to talk you out of it. No
Mhm.
one does that today. And we call it commission breath. We live in a time where everyone gives a shit about themselves and not others. And they're
Yeah.
like, you want to buy a restaurant? You're a big boy. Go ahead. And then
That's
when you
right.
lose a $500,000, it's like, you're a big boy. You made that call. No, don't do it. Here are the reasons why I don't like food right now until we tame inflation and we get a handle on where's minimum wage going.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
AI
Well,
is going to replace these people, Mike. That's the reality. That's
it
when I
is.
get back into food, is when you tell me, Cliff, I just walked into a Popeye's chicken and there was no one there. That's when you re enter the QSR, the quick service restaurant space, when all the people are eliminated.
Yeah. Oh, exactly. I mean, I can't wait. It's like, how can I put kiosks in my hotel so I don't have to hire people, that
No,
don't show up, that only want, to work 4 days out of the week, that want $20 an hour. I'm like, oh, you know what?
you
The
nailed
little
it.
box doesn't say all that sort of stuff, and I can't wait. So all of my new developments are all going to be, you need help, type it on your phone and we'll answer it for you. But
That's
there's
right.
not going to be anyone around.
That's
And
right.
people can't bitch about that because, they've created that, by going out and demanding these things and not knowing how businesses work. And they should have learned with the auto unions and sort of stuff. It's like there's a reason why all the factories moved to Mexico.
That's right.
At some point you outpace your worth. But anyway,
Right. I love seeing photographs of like Detroit, 1950s, 60s,
Yeah.
70s. And then you see it today and it looks like a wart. Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
happens.
And
That's
they're
what
blaming
happens.
they're blaming the corporate, they're blaming the companies. It's like going, no, you don't pay someone $60 an hour to do a widget. I
Exactly
mean,
right.
I grew up in a union town, and it's like the only people that were driving the Corvettes were the factory workers because the management couldn't afford it.
Unreal.
You
It's
know,
true.
it
There's a
was so true.
balance.
There's a
Yeah.
balance. So, um, before I let you go, so um, how much time does it take to start the franchise? Someone says, well, can I do it while I'm still working my 9 to 5? What is the time obligation on a lot of these types of things? And who makes a good someone that to buy a franchise? What kind of that
Right.
mindset?
Right.
Um,
The time to, so when the client's working with us, it takes us
mhm,
around 3 months to close the loop on due diligence and actually say, I know enough about the brands that I've been evaluating. I'm in or I'm out. Right.
mhm.
So it takes around 3 months of just due diligence. And that's why I tell clients get involved early. Because if we look at 3 to 5 brands over a 3, 4 month period of time and you
Yeah,
don't like any of them, we have to start over. We just lost half of a year. Time's money, right? And it's a
yeah.
commodity you can't recycle. So let's get into it and start evaluating brands and learn from the experience. As for opening, once they decide I want to buy this brand, if
Mhm.
it's a non-brick and mortar brand that doesn't require any commercial real estate, they're up and running really right after basic training with the
Mhm.
franchisor. So you could be up and running and measured in months, several months. If it's brick and mortar, now we have that usually that class A site selection that could take time. By the
Mhm.
time you buy the franchise, it could take a year before you're open. And that
Yep.
also depends on the state. Blue states are not business friendly states and they're
Yep.
riddled with regulation and delays. They just are. I started my franchise world in New York, and I used to make sure that we negotiated deals with landlords that we are rent commencement is when I have certificate of occupancy because this is New York. CO could be 2 years. I'm not paying 10,000 a month in rent. The franchisee be out of business.
Yeah.
So you want it to be a landlord, and you want it to be a landlord in New York or California. Deal with it because I'm negotiating. That's the other thing we bring to the table. I have a ton of experience in commercial lease negotiation and managing personal guarantee risk and just managing the risk of being an entrepreneur. We add a ton of value to the franchisee as it relates to managing risk and finding the right brand and being able to speculate to accumulate wealth without literally destroying your life.
Hmm.
That's why people don't want to take chances. They don't know how to manage the risks. What makes a good franchisee, I think was your other question.
Yeah.
It's like, can you follow a proven system or are you going to be the guy, gal that comes in and just wants to change everything and say things like, you don't understand. It's different in my market. That one statement, you don't understand, it's different in my market. That's the first red flag that they're not a fit for franchising. You really need to be able, franchising is an opportunity for people who are not entrepreneurial in terms of I'm going to create my own business idea. It's like, look, I have a desire to be self-employed. I'm not Elon Musk. I'm not the entrepreneur. I'm not Steve Jobs. I'm a person who aspires to be self-employed, control my destiny, control my calendar, my schedule, my vacations, build my own culture. I don't like my corporate culture. I want to build my own work culture for my own people. It's like, look, here's the blueprint. Here's the roadmap. Execute. That's it. Can you do that? Yes. We make a statement in my world, which is this: McDonald's is a license to print money. It's a business model you buy, you just execute, and it makes money, period. There are people, if you were told that there are 37 sesame seeds on the bun, there are people who will scrape them off. Those are the people who are not a fit for franchising. They're constantly meddling and modifying the model after the model has already been proven and a license to print money, like a Chick-fil-A. Don't
Hmm.
mess with it. Don't tell me you've got a better deal on potatoes and grease. Those people are not a fit. So you
Yeah.
got to put yourself in check. We over the 3, 4 month period of time, we find out like, look, you're not going to be happy in franchising. You're just too entrepreneurial. You challenge everything. You shouldn't do
Hmm.
this.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's great,
and
great
people like
question.
that, you can do it, but be the absentee owner
Yeah.
or something.
Hire a
Just
manager, hire a
hire a
manager.
manager.
Yes, sir.
Don't go to the place. Just pick up your check, get your owner's draw, leave it alone, if
Well
you want to
said.
do it that way. But Cliff, how can people get a hold of you outside of Franocity?
Yeah. So at franocity.com, franocity.com. We also have a podcast for people who just want
Hmm.
to learn and listen in from afar. Maybe they don't want to engage right now. It's called Pursuit of Profit. It's co-hosted by my business partner Justin and I. Great show. We only interview founders of franchise concepts, so it's a great
Hmm.
in-depth conversation of how they got started, unit economics, investment, acquiring customers, execution. It's pretty good in terms of that. It's more educational. It's not really entertaining. It's educational on
Yeah,
franchising. And my email, cliffn@franocity.com.
there you go. Cliff, it's been a pleasure and a lot of enlightening information, ladies and gentlemen. If you are interested at all and want to get educated a little bit about franchises, franocity.com, and check out Cliff's podcast. Cliff, it's been a pleasure. Thank you
Thank
for
you, Mike.
coming on the Richer Geek.
My pleasure. Thanks for the invite.